right, so AIM reports. I know this is something that some of you might know I am quite passionate about. I am on the CSPA Technical and Safety Committee, and this is one area of passion of mine. Not that I like seeing incidences and malfunctions and accidents happen, but it is something that we learn from. So the most important thing that everyone should know, it doesn't matter whether you're at our drop zone, any drop zone, really, I know for sure around the world, they have some form of reporting for any accidents, incidents, or malfunctions. In Canada, we have 10 days for this to be put into place. So it's an important thing that even if it's a minor malfunction, you don't really think much of it, you know, it was nothing. Make sure an AIM gets done. There's information on those AIM reports that we look at to see if there's any trending. And we don't just compare it to our incidences, we look at North America and of course, worldwide. So it's an important thing. Gord is gonna put in the chat side a link to the CSPA AIM category for the summary analysis, as well as all the stats. So there is a really detailed analysis of last year and prior years. CSPA decided back in 2019, we had all this data we'd been collecting since 2014, and it was kind of an opportunity to, my background is really intense analyzing stuff. And so we became we wanted to change what we were doing and be able to put more information out there for everybody to learn from. And that you guys could go as a resource to, or drop zone owners could go, or instructors could go and actually see what the key things were going on, not only last year, but over the past couple of years. So you'll see in the last 2 years, those reports is a big summary report. It's quite in depth. It's very, you know, if you're a numbers person, you'll love it, but there's a lot of recommendations in there, and not just for skydivers. There's recommendations in there for coaches, for instructors, for DZOs, DZSOs, packers, riggers, manifests. So there's lots of recommendations, and really they guide you to the right places to look in the CSP materials like the PIMS. So just really quickly diving in, last year in the analysis that we looked at and analyzed, for students, the biggest issues we saw were on landing occurrences, flare technique, lack of response to GCIs, or low turn on final. We had last year, and you'll probably notice that a common conversation throughout many of the presentations tonight was about altitude awareness. That wasn't just by chance. Last year, we had 6 AAD fires. 4 of them were with students, 2 on experienced jumpers. This is, of course, across Canada. And what's really concerning, obviously, about this is the ones on the students. So looking into some of the instructor stuff, what we're doing, how we're recognizing that. I love that Pete brought up, you know, what are your visual aids on your way up? You know, if there's clouds at 4,500 feet, being able to learn that, that's not something that's, you know, just instinctual, it's learning it. So the reason for the loss of altitude awareness on these AAD fires was heading control or a delay of a pilot chute release. And of course, these are with our students. A student, by the way, is considered in Canada anyone that is solo rated or lower. We don't dive into tandem instructors on it because, of course, CSPA doesn't mandate all of that kind of stuff, but there's lots of information elsewhere that you can. There are stats on the tandems, just there's not as many recommendations that way. For our experienced jumpers, Danny hit it on the head. Landing occurrences, #1, it's continually #1. Landing hazards, irregular winds, intentional or unintentional low turns in the flare technique were the biggest root causes of landing occurrences. So an accident happened, an incident happened because of one of those 4 reasons. They were the top reasons. Malfunctions, lots of malfunctions. They happen for many different reasons. The 2 biggest reasons were line twists and because of a hard opening. One of the things that we did see too, that we are keeping an eye on over the past couple of years, is tension knots. And the tension knot one, I love that Brian brought this into play because, you know, this is what happens. You know, it is really checking your gear, checking your lines, as he talked about, and looking at packing and whatnot. So the biggest recommendations, there's lots of them. I really encourage you guys, go check out the data that Gord's linked you to on our CSPA website. It references lots, but I started saying this last year, I'll say it again this year: intentional and unintentional low turns can result in serious injury or death. It is important to recognize your limitations, including but not limited to your currency, your skill level, external inputs, and personal inputs. Monica touched on this about your personal feelings, what's going on. A really good thing to read and review is The Factors Affecting Human Performance. And this is in the PIM2B. Definitely, it's well worth the read. You know, talks about fatigue and stress and stuff that you don't even think about. Altitude awareness, it's our #1 survival skill. The minimum altitudes are AGL at which the main parachute must be activated. Here's the notes there. Love what Wade say. These are the minimums. You know, I know for me personally, my hard deck is a bit higher because I'm a little bit chicken, and I'm okay with that. You know, and I educate whoever I'm jumping on with or anything like that. You know, we talk about that. Not that I jump much anymore, but. Big things, go look it through your PIMs. There's reference here for landing techniques, landing patterns, landing problems and solutions. You know, it's safety day. We can only like just brush the surface of this all, but the material here, this is years of people who are skydivers, not skydivers, like just education in this on CSPA volunteers, board members over the years that have worked diligently on this. Read the material. Love that this was mentioned to you, Danny. One of the sad things that we did, and I saw over the last 2 years of really digging into our AIM reports, is PLF. I don't know if people don't remember what it is, what's going on. There's like no mention of it anymore in the recommendations by DZSOs or anything like that. If you are not familiar again with a PLF, you can go check it out online. It's in the Skydiving Technical Knowledge PLF landing. It's in the SSI reference manual. Go find it. Learn what a PFF is. Ask, get coaching on it. Doesn't matter what your experience level is. This is essential, just like Danny said. Never attempt anything beyond your skill level or without first consulting a certified coach experienced in that discipline. Top priority. Again, the amount you'll pay for coaching, if it's in the air or just even having conversations on the ground with certified coaches and instructors is worth your life, period. That's how I see it. Another big one that was a recommendation is assessing terrain. We've chatted a lot about that, the effects of the dangers of turbulence, those kind of things. Lots of information about how to handle that kind of stuff in our PIMs. And then skydivers have a responsibility to ensure that they have required training before attempting skills. And we've talked about this, but one of the big things is including such things as downsizing. Jumpers and coaches, instructors, DZSOs, we encourage everyone to refer to the PIM2B for parachute downsizing criterion to ensure the appropriate downsizing for an individual. You know, there's lots of people who are excited, they're new, they want to get down to smaller canopies, do all of that. Canopies fly differently. Big conversation that I've just recently had is that, you know, we are, for those of you who are progressing into swooping, those kind of things, or even guys who are already swooping, there's big differences in canopy and the technology today. And, you know, this is something that everyone is taking seriously in the industry. If we look at the international level, you know, going from, and pardon me, because I'm not overly familiar with canopies, but a Leia is a very technical canopy. And it's very different than a Sabre or a Gangster or a Pilot. What is it? A Velo. And so even if you're already at that level of downsizing, understanding the difference between canopy types, this is vital, vital. And there are some great coaches and camps and people out there with the experience. We have Coach 3s that you can look up that. If you're not sure, ask a DZO. We can refer you to the right places to go. We have some really good canopy pilots on the island and elsewhere And so these are really important. Technology in our parachutes has changed big time. So it's not just about downsizing from a 170 to a 150 to a 130 to a 69 Leia. There's lots of other factors in that. So really big thing, downsizing should not be taken lightly, even if you're going from a 170 to a 150. And then again, altitude awareness, actively always be looking at site pictures at various altitudes, whether you're at the same drop zone, different drop zones. Pete, you nailed it on the head with that one. It's a really good visual cue. Look at your altimeter and be watching where things are. Big report here, all from the International Safety Committee. This is, they look at fatalities across the world. This is based on 2020 data because it just came out. Actually, the report was pretty quick this year. I was quite happy with that. But they're estimating about 1.02 million jumpers are worldwide that happened, and over 5.3 million skydives took place. So, and that's by just over 1 million jumpers. 3 biggest reasons for fatalities is canopy handling, canopy control, and landing issues. 80% of all of those, actually, I think it's up to 81%. It was 80% in 2019. Now it's 81%, is due to human error. 77% of the fatalities had at least one good parachute overhead, and 55 occurred after the successful deployment of the main. So there's a bigger breakdown in here, but all of this you can actually find in the big report that Gord linked. So, whoops. So again, really important, guys, AIM reports, we get this data from that. When we receive the data, it's confidential. I don't know person, drop zone, any of that information. And frankly, I don't care about that information. I want to know canopy types, what size. Take those AIM reports seriously, guys. We track that kind of stuff. If we all of a sudden start having a whole bunch of malfunction issues with, Sabre 3s, we need to bring that forward. So we're looking for trends and patterns in this. Don't be embarrassed about an AIM report. This is a good thing to be able to report forward. Obviously, we want to try to prevent incidences and accidents and all those things, but we can't do that without the data and understanding it. So on that note, I'm going to unshare this.